Well, hello again. We're going to talk about resumes, do's and don'ts in this video. And you should have 4 pages in your large handout about resumes, do's and don'ts, and I'm just going to go down over them and make some comments. While using a resume template is discouraged, I do want you to follow one of the examples. Now you can take different components from different parts of those examples as far as headings and whether or not they put a line under things and what they bolded, but I want you to use one of those formats. If you're going to email your resume and cover letter, you must save them in PDF format. If you don't, they may come out looking all kinds of crazy ways. If, when you go to save, you click on the Save As, a variety of options will come up. Choose PDF. That way, if your document is saved as a PDF, the reader will see what you typed exactly the way you typed it. But for that to happen, for sure, you have to save your document as a PDF. Don't use a middle name, not necessary. Only one phone number, an email that's appropriate. Your resume, as far as I'm concerned, can be 1 or 2 pages. The vast majority of you will have a 1-page resume. Some of you will have so many different interests, so many different jobs, different awards that you've won, volunteer trips you've been on, that you may go to a 2nd page. And I will accept that. But do not just put things down that are irrelevant. What you put in your resume must be relevant to help you get a job, to selling yourself, to helping the person reading this understand that you are the #1 person in line to get this job based on what they're reading about you. Looks best to have your name in bold. Make your margins 1 inch, no more. Your objective, list everything in reverse chronological order from the present back in the past. This says, as I did when talking about my resume, if you're going to use a profile, that needs to mean that you've had at least 1 or 2 professional jobs beforehand and that you can write a profile of yourself. And if you're going to do that, I'd suggest that you go to YouTube and resume profiles and see what they have to say about profiles. You need to include your current degree program. What is your degree? What is your degree? What's your anticipated graduation date? What's the school you're graduating from? Look at the resume examples. Do not list your high school unless your high school has a very special name and is known for something very special. If it's a magnet school, put it in there. If it's just McPherson High School, it's irrelevant. If you're in college applying for a job, they're going to assume you graduated from high school. Now, if you were the yearbook editor in high school or the band baton leader, you can put those things, just a few of them, maybe, if they're relevant. I'm not sure baton leader would be. Yearbook editor would always be. You can put those under your list of activities later on. The handout says list your GPA if it's 3.0 or above. My experience is that nobody looks at your GPA unless it's 3.5 or above. List results and skills, not just duties. What were the results in what you did? Even if you worked for a fast food restaurant and you had to close up, you closed up every single night with everything in perfect order, etc., etc. List the results. The name, city, and state of your college and employers, not the street address. Not your bosses, not your supervisors, just the name and the place where you worked, city and state. Consider having your titles at least in bold. Personally, I think all capital letters makes them stand out too much. It's like, there they are. But it's up to you. Bullets must begin with action verbs. And use the present tense of verbs if you're still working there, if you're still going to school there. Use the past tense of verbs if you're done working there, if you're done going to school there. Do not use pronouns. List other languages you're fluent with. You'll remember the idealist.org assignment you did. If you went through and looked through jobs that are available all around this country and around the world, if you speak Spanish, you've got an ace up your sleeve. Lots of jobs want people, especially in this country, who can also speak fluent Spanish. So list, and if it's the languages from the Congo and French, etc., please list those languages. It shows you're smart enough to have learned those languages. Awards and scholarships towards the bottom of your resume. If you've been awarded any scholarships here at McPherson College, list those there. The President's Scholarship, a sports scholarship, whatever. List the scholarships. That shows that you have gotten something that everybody else has not gotten. Be sure to use key words in your field if at all possible. Every profession has its language. If you can at different places in what you're writing, use some of that language. Do it. No personal information. No personal information. It is not relevant to whether or not you can do the job, whether you're married, how far away you live, if you get sick a lot, if you're going to get pregnant soon, etc., etc., etc. Your social security, your driver's license number, those things do not help. And if you are asked for those in an interview, be careful what you say. I'd say as little as possible, and then get onto another topic. Do not put in your resume references are available upon request. My suggestion, something I've always done, I have a separate page with my 3 references: name, title when they were if they were my supervisor, or title now if they're a friend, or main title if they're now retired, their title, where I knew them from or where they worked, what agency or organization, company did I know them from, a phone number, and an email address. References are no good unless somebody can get a hold of them. So the person needs to know how they were, how you know them, how you're related to them, what's the connection, and then phone number and email, ways that they can get a hold of the people. And make sure, oh my gosh, make sure that the references you select will give you a good reference. I have called references and they've said, that son of a, and just ranted and raved against that person. Now, if you can't pick somebody to give you a reference that's going to give you a good reference, you think I'm going to trust you to do a job where you have to make decisions on your own when you can't even select someone who's going to give you a good resume? Don't rely on spell check. Take copies of your resume with you. You can assume, and almost all the time it will be so, that your resume will be copied if there's more than one person who's going to be interviewing you. So take more than one resume when you go to an interview. Some do's. You heard all these. I'm not sure if I'm going to go down. Well, I'm going to go down over one of these. Do include publications, permits, patents, presentations. If I had known I was going to be a professor, if you're going to be a professor, if you want to be a professor, you need to keep track of all the presentations you make, all these different places, and the titles of them. Man, I would have hundreds of those, but I didn't know I was going to be a professor, and I never kept track of them. But if you're going to be a teacher, it'd be good if you've given presentations, stand-up presentations. You've shown that you have the ability to stand up and speak in front of groups. Relevant volunteer experience, professional licenses or certificates, especially in some of the sciences, especially in some business courses. If you're going to be a CPA, auto restoration, if you've already acquired certificates, list them. These extras, can sometimes be the extra factor that will get you the interview. It goes from cover letter to resume to interview. Each one has to be perfect for you to be the person chosen for the job. Edit and proofread mercilessly. You cannot make a single mistake. If you cannot send the application for a job, the letter and the resume, in perfect shape, I'm going to assume you don't care enough to do the job I have available in perfect shape either, and I'm not going to want you for the job. Somebody else is going to give me a perfect resume. If you don't, you've wasted all that time. It has to be perfect. I have read hundreds and hundreds of these. I have conducted, dozens and dozens and dozens of interviews. I am telling you, the best person for each of those jobs may not have got the job because they did not take the required time to make sure their cover letter was perfect, their resume was perfect, and they knew how to answer interview questions. Be prepared. Go in with your best foot forward. And then the don'ts. Remember, don't inflate your accomplishments. Don't lie. I had a college student once who had the greatest resume, sharing all about her 20 years in the military. Don't lie. If somebody finds out you've lied or you've inflated your resume, nobody wants somebody who's not honest. Remember, the primary purpose of this resume is to focus on your life and career and the aspects of it that address the employer's needs. Doesn't matter what you might get out of this job at this point. What matters is, do you meet the employer's needs? That's what you're selling yourself about. Don't use pronouns. Don't provide personal data. Don't use the same action verb over and over and over. Find different ones. Don't leave out dates. You have to have dates. Don't use cliched adjectives like dynamic or self-starting. Everybody knows those are blown up words. What do they really mean? And then don't make your resume a list of just job duties. Make them accomplishments and achievements. Now, best of luck as you go about preparing your resume. I look forward to reading them.